technology right now is international. We just recently had a review and went through where our alumni went and the networks. And it turned out we have about altogether 72 alumni altogether. About 30 of them stayed within Ireland, many in companies. In IBM, for example, has several. A lot of startups are involved with that, and we see this development already happening. We see that our alumni are in fact shaping the Irish technology landscape. But equally important, and that's something that is easily forgotten if you are not taking a more global view, is that what really counts also is the international network of people. And we see this in our own daily life always. So the connections that we now have to Australia, to Korea, by our alumni, which went there, really make a crucial difference. Like, for example, we got an industry contract from Samsung in Seoul, so from the headquarters in there. And of course it happens because of our technology excellence. What else? But it also happened because there was an alumni from us in Seoul making the right connections of making that happen. Some of our technologies are now adopted by all 27 member states in there for, I think we will talk about open data later, for structuring open data portals in there. Of course, it happens because we created the standards, but it also happened because one of our alumni is now working in the European Commission. So these personal connections are playing an important role and to play Ireland on the road. And the last thing that Ireland, from my perspective, if I may, as a German national may say this, is looking inwards. I think looking outwards and making the right connections and also educating the world is indeed part of that.
We don't like losing people out of the country, but I think it's inevitable. If we're going to just globalize our capabilities and our skills, it's always good to go away, learn what's going on in other countries and jurisdictions, and then hopefully come back and share that in the country later on. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. We need to have the stuff that's going on with NUI, and I think IBM are doing a lot of work around smart cities, and DCU and IMI and UCC are all doing stuff around this whole area. And it's been funded, through the stage and private partnership. But it's inevitable that we're going to have to, take the step, go away, and come back, because that's the way we gain more knowledge.
I think there are 90,000 jobs in IT now, 6,000 job vacancies in IT. It's definitely something where we're going to have to look at, international talent, bringing it in. We are a very mobile population, and we have it in our mindsets, which is great, and getting people out there, getting the experience, and hopefully bringing it back to Ireland would be super. But the way to attract people back to Ireland is to have, a thriving hub, of activity in whatever industry or sector. So I think they're important points to make as well.
But I mean, you've also got to think very much about where the regulatory environment is going. There's an increasing tension between the EU and the United States now about where data is and what jurisdiction it then comes under, and how that might get mined for all sorts of information. People do worry about it. There's no real indication yet that people are pulling data out of US-based data centers, or data centers which would give the US authorities the power to actually start getting in there under Patriot Act type stuff. But it's certainly in the back of people's minds. I mean, as more and more people become more and more aware of how much digital information is being held about them, and what organizations are holding, and what insight and stuff they will mine from that, the more sensitive this is going to become. And whilst it's great to do the analysis and to have the insight and to gain the advantage, you've got to increasingly start thinking about the downside. We're not yet seeing or individuals saying we want to go off grid, because frankly you can't. But I've got a number of instances where organizations have quite rightly said, we don't want to do things that would upset our customers. We don't want to cross what we call the creepy line. That area where you start to sort of deliver things and the customers start wondering, how did you know that? But at the same time, if you ask them to opt into everything, they start suffering from opt-in fatigue. And they'll start saying, well, to hell with this, I'm just going to opt out of everything. And that then leaves you as a commercial organisation with a real problem. You've now spent all this money to collect this data, to do all these things, however good the infrastructure is. If your customers have said you can't use this, we're not going to let you use this, you've got a real problem. So the regulatory environment here in Ireland, and then the broader one in the European Union as a whole, and then the global stuff, it's no longer just a question, yes, you've got to comply with all the legal ones, but you've also got to think about what is the culture. What do you think is comfortable? What would your children think is comfortable? What would your mother think is comfortable? Because that creepy line is a very variable thing, and it will change over time as well.